Hi, I'm Bob Fisher with R.J. Fisher and Associates here today with a presentation on what land development envisioneering is all about. So what I'm going to do is walk through a presentation that we have put together with a little Prezi. We're going to be using a project that we recently had completed. It's called Sunflower Fields. And I think that one is kind of nice because it shows a number of the unique features that we have with land development envisioneering. So with that, we'll get on with a little introduction here.
Hi there. Thank you for joining us in one of our first webinars on land development envisioneering. This is really a treat for us that we get to use some of our 3D site models in this webinar, and I really am anxious to really show the world what is possible with the 3D site modeling these days. We use the 3D site model in this particular project for the initial due diligence. Helped us greatly in meeting very stringent design submission requirements. And then ultimately we put together an awesome overall site video. So, hope you enjoy. We'll get started now with how we started the due diligence process.
Okay, as we said, every project tells a story, and this is the story of Sunflower Fields and how envisioneering helped us really get through the due diligence process, the overall site design, and the site presentation models that we prepared. So I'm Bob Fisher, R.J. Fisher and Associates. We're an engineering, planning, and surveying firm here in New Cumberland, Pennsylvania. Over 40 years of design experience and past president of the Metro Harrisburg Home Builders Association. I've chaired the Pennsylvania Builders Association Chesapeake Bay Strategy Committee. Been very involved with the Realtors Association Government Affairs Committee. And I also serve on Cumberland County Planning Commission. So, been very involved with a lot of land development issues and site design issues over the years. And really, why did we create land development engineering? Well, it kind of developed out of things as far as the way they were. When we got into due diligence, we had many of our clients that needed quick answers to many of their design questions. And a lot of the tools that we had at that point just weren't adequate to really give adequate answers. In the design process, we needed better analysis tools. Even today, I've seen a number of sites that just aren't balanced. The site grading is such a critical part of the overall site design, and many firms just aren't paying attention to that. So we've always done that as part of our process, but we really look to ways to improve our process all the time, and I think what we came up with really helps us all the way through the process and helps our clients greatly. Project renderings, we've all seen some nice Photoshop renderings that really look pretty awesome, but they're static images. We've really come up with a way that once we create a 3D model, we can walk through the site and really give our clients and our prospective projects a whole different feel from what it was before. So what is envisioneering? Imagine dynamic site concept plans. Imagine site grading and cost estimates, 3D site models, and presentations for approvals and sales. What do we mean by dynamic site concepts? Well, here's where we're laying out 150 apartment units on this site. These little blue boxes are 30 apartment units each. You can see we can dynamically pick up the buildings and move it within the parking lot, and the parking count's changing. So that's how quickly we can go through and really move the site around, come up with what it is we're really looking for with a site plan. Not just the two dimensions, so we always want to look at grading. Here we're looking at thousands of grading plans, and while we're doing that, we're getting cuts, fills, paving, sidewalk, all the approximate site cost early on in the very early due diligence phase. We take that to the next step. We'll put some building blocks on there, and this is just a site model we put together about a year ago, so it's nowhere near what it is that we do today. But this just gives you a little bit of a flavor. Once it's exported into a 3D site model, we can really spin around and really take a look at what a lot of the grades, what a lot of the restrictions are, where we might need retaining walls, walking paths. But it really allows us to walk all the way through the project and really helps us greatly in the overall design process. And then we get to, here's the video of the Sunflower Fields project. At this point we can put the trees, the landscaping, the people. If you really look closely at this video, you can see the breeze blowing through the trees, animated people, animated cars. It really has opened up a whole new world to really allow for pre-construction sales and marketing of a project, and really give your potential clients and buyers a lot better feel for what the ultimate project is really going to look like at the other end. So who is using EnVisioneering and why? Primarily it's land developers. Get the power of what if. You're able to evaluate all of your options, your grading, and your rough cost. And it literally does save thousands of dollars per acre over conventional design. Many times we've more than justified our total design fee simply by the value engineering that we've come up with in saving on construction costs. Real estate brokers, really several times a week we have different real estate brokers that are coming in of clients that are looking at several sites. They need some quick answers and they need to know, will this site really work for us or not? And we're able to do that with the programs that we really have available now. Design build contractors, they're always looking to value engineering sites. And what we can do with the 3D models is really, with the bid, submit a 3D rendering of the site along with the bid for the project. Architects, we've worked with a number of different architects where we can bring in their Revit models, the AutoCAD or SketchUp building models into our site drawings to do presentations and to win more projects. And national retailers, restaurateurs, and industrial manufacturers. Typically we like to analyze several sites and many alternatives on everything from individual shops to large-scale distribution facilities. They've really got into doing a number of these. So locally, who's using this now? Triple Crown Corporation, Mark DeSanto regularly comes in with different sites, and before he ever makes an offer on a site, we'll typically be able to tell Mark, here's about how many units we can get, here's a couple different options with different types of units on here, so he knows how to value the site. Greg Rhodes is in quite often, usually several times a week, with different sites that he's looking at. And we've taken a couple of his sites and even have done some interior renderings for him that they actually use it for some of the sales and marketing on some of their projects. Paul and Drew Williams of AP Williams, we've analyzed a number of sites for them. They're design build contractors and site contractors. So it is really a pleasure working with Paul and Drew. They're engineers, so they really appreciate the level of detail that we can get to in a relatively short amount of time. And Brandon Johnson, Monarch Development Corporation, that's who our client was for Sunflower Fields. They do a lot of public housing finance agency or public housing funding for their projects. So they're under pretty stringent deadlines, and they do look at a number of different sites over the course of a year to really come up with which ones they are going to pursue and which ones they're going to submit funding applications for. We start the process with a design charrette. This is just a photograph of our conference room where we have a high definition projector and different monitors around the room that we can be looking at several different views. Maybe we'll have a zoning ordinance or other requirements, site design requirements up on one of the monitors, And we can go through and interactively try different alternatives and different sketches with it. So that's really important early on in the process to really come up with how we start it. Now here we're showing you where we started the design process. We had a base map with an aerial photo and contours on. And we can download all this over the internet for just about any place in the country. So it is really nice to be able to get a base map that quickly. What we're doing now is we're designing where the roads are. And since we do a lot of work in Susquehanna Township, we already have all their street design standards in there. So there we've just set all the street widths, the minimum radiuses, the curb height, the sidewalk, all those design parameters we're following the township municipal ordinances. So as we research the ordinances, once the program is set up with that, as we're doing these rough concept plans and sketch plans, we're making sure that we're in compliance with the municipal ordinances. If we're not, like here we can see these little red squares, that's telling us the radiuses aren't quite big enough there. Here's where we go in and we can really control all of the details as far as the site, the lot grading, the setbacks, and we're eliminating some lots down here along the road because what we want to do here is create enough room. We have a community building and a community garden that we want to put in this particular area. Here we're doing a grading plan, again getting a rough construction cost estimate. We also had some steep slopes in this area, which that was required that we had to avoid some of the steep slopes when we went into the conservation design requirement. So went through a number of different scenarios until we finally ended up with the final product on this. But this really works pretty well when you can have everyone in the same room and you're doing that. And we've actually done this over the internet too, where we can do a remote viewing of this. Here we're adding the stormwater ponds, which are critical portions of the overall site design. And we're just doing another grading analysis now that we have the stormwater ponds as part of the overall site concept. We do have to start with that pretty early. So you saw what level we were at there, and here we can export that directly to Google Earth and get a pretty good view of what that looks like with the surrounding neighborhood there. And there's a couple different programs that we actually import and export. So we're using probably about a half a dozen different programs during this process, that each one has their own strengths and weaknesses, and that's pretty much a lot of what we've figured out is how to do that. Now the site design, we did have a few surprises with that. Once we came up with our concept plan and we submitted for a funding application, we got notice that we actually had got funding for the project and actually had won an award for the design. It was a pretty innovative award, and there's only 2 projects statewide out of about 50 projects that were in the competition, and we won funding for the project. But lo and behold, the township was about to change the municipal ordinance. If they changed the ordinance, we would not be able to do the project. So we found this out 2 weeks before the municipal meeting to take action on the ordinance. So we had to produce a full set of plans, profiles, stormwater calculations, all the grading, all the full site design in 2 weeks. So since we went through the due diligence process and had that pretty much taken care of, we were able to meet those challenges. A lot of public opposition. There was public financing of this project, so that was a problem. We knew that project presentations were going to be important, and then we put together a Google Earth model. So here's what we had as far as a presentation goes. Instead of a little 24 by 36 plan on a easel, we had a 10-foot wide by 7-foot high definition 3D model. As we present it to the board, you can see everyone's attention is really focused on the projection, and that's superimposed on Google Earth. So as we go through the project, we can really spin around and show them how this project relates to adjacent properties. When we would have neighbors that would complain about the density of the project, all we would have to do is zoom into their project to show that the density on all of the neighboring projects, which we've also designed over the past 20 years, also actually had higher densities than what we were proposing. Now, this is not the pretty finished model, but it is very effective in the public presentations. You do see a couple trees poking up through our model there. That's simply because we have to control the elevation of the model, and to get the really nice 3D models that come up with Google Earth now, it's a little bit of a balancing act, setting the elevation of the model to show the surrounding neighborhood, but elevating it a little bit above what the actual terrain is there. But it is still a very effective way to show how our project interrelates to everything that's around the site and what's going on with that. The other beauty of having Google Earth on there as a projection is it allows you to come down and do a street view. So in this particular area, the township was looking for us to install sidewalks. Well, there's some steep slopes up there on the other side of the power lines, and so we couldn't put sidewalks there, so we asked them for a waiver to allow to put the sidewalk down immediately adjacent to the curb. This really helps in a municipal meeting when you can go to this level of detail, that there's no question or people thinking, well, what's actually out in the field? Well, we can take a walk down the road and show them. The next portion down here was an area where they were also looking for sidewalks, but here we have a rock cliff, basically immediately adjacent to, just outside of the white line on this road, and it's just impossible to install a sidewalk through that portion. But again, it's an awesome tool in a public presentation when you can show them actual field conditions. So the next phase that we get into is really the sales and marketing of sites, and really what's beauty of this is we have really all the animated site features. We can animate people, cars, show the wind blowing through the trees, control all the views, the music, even to the point of the weather or the time of year. We can show this in the fall or the winter, with all the leaves down. We can do interior and exterior views and full video productions. So here again is our typical video that we have that we saw at the introduction of this presentation. And we go around here and we'll highlight different features for the site, as far as this, the great community building that we have here. I mean, that's really pretty awesome. We have the people jogging, carrying on discussions, but it really helps for the sales and marketing before a project even exists. We can really give people a really good feel for what the community is going to be like, and you just position this properly with the right background music, and it can make a big difference. Now, it's not just the exterior of the buildings that we have. We can also go on the interior buildings. Now, this particular one, we didn't really get too fancy with the interior, but we just wanted to show what, maybe the grand opening of this community might look like. So here we have our grand opening. We have a guy playing a piano here. Looks like he might be more interested in looking at his cell phone. Oh, and there's one of Santa's reindeer that kind of snuck into the building too. But notice as you look out the windows, you can actually see other portions of the model here. So you can really see what views you're going to see out of particular windows. This project has a community garden, so we got to show off some of our tomato and lettuce plants that we have here, and some of the corn in the background. What we really like as far as showing to salespeople, though, is here's a view of your streetscape. If you want to walk up on one of those front porches, we can show you the views that you're going to see from that front porch. Now this is something I'm really pretty excited about, because many times you have trouble explaining to potential home buyers what's a grading of their lot going to look like. So here we have the lot relatively level, and then there's going to be a bank with landscaping on it. So we can show them that level of detail. Picture being able to show to your sales team and your realtors out on the site what an exposed basement is. Being able to walk around the site and show them different features like that. Here we wanted to show the township, what that 15 to 25% slope looked like. It's really not all that bad. So why exactly they were concerned about that, I'm really not sure, and I'm not quite sure why we have the steep slope ordinances that we do, but that's going to be a topic of another presentation. As a recap of that, today we went over the due diligence, how we get quick concept plans along with site cost estimates early in the project, even before you make an offer on the site. On the site design, we can go into the detailed grading and speed the submissions and save on our overall design and engineering cost for this. The Google Earth models for presentations really makes for a very dynamic presentation. And the marketing, the 3D models literally come alive. Imagine showing your buyers or investor a video of the site before construction even begins. Imagine a sales office that could have a 3D model in there and walk your potential buyers through the project and into the interiors of your homes. It's like having a drone fly over the project even before it exists. So hopefully you found some value in today's presentation, and if you want some further information, or if you'd like to schedule an appointment to go over a project, please call me at 717-774-7534, or shoot me an email at rjf@rjfisherengineering.com, or visit our website at www.rjfisherengineering.com. Thank you.